Hi, welcome to Ion Art. I'm Carla Santia.
I'm Jim Rosenthal. Carla, today we're going to have a completely different sort of show. Bay State Medical Center has had a major commitment to art over the years. We have a lot to cover. We're going to be talking with Pam Wilkins about the history of Bay State's commitment to the arts. We're going to be seeing a project which Arts Alive is sponsoring, where Joanne Bonacotti will be working with some children. So we'll have a lot to do today, a lot of different things.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be very exciting and very enlightening for those who see Bay State as just a hospital.
I think they'll have their eyes open today.
I think they sure will, and definitely they're going to have their eye on art. We're here today in the Arts Alive Gallery at Bay State Medical Center, and I have here with me today Pam Wilkins-Horowitz from Wilkins Art Consulting in Weston, Massachusetts. Thank you for coming, Pam.
Oh,
this is
you're
going to be
welcome.
delightful. I've worked with Pam for several years on many projects here at Bay State, and I consider Pam to probably be the resident historian here at Bay State in terms of the arts program. So what I'd like to do is begin with some of the history and how these particular art programs evolved.
All right. We first began here when the Wesson Women's Building was being renovated back in I think it was 84.
Wow.
The charge at that time was to bring in regional artwork instead of posters. So that was a delightful assignment, and I began searching the local galleries, working with the town gallery, with the Avis Nair Gallery, and many of the wonderful artists from the Springfield area.
Great.
And we filled all 4 floors of that building with regional art. And I don't think Bay State knew what had hit them. They were ecstatic as they started to see beautiful watercolors and torn paper collages by Marge Parr, or pieces by Phoebe Del Padre, Jane Duquette. It was just a fabulous beginning.
I'm sure it was. Was this the beginning of the Arts Alive program? Did this precede the Arts Alive program?
The permanent collection preceded the Arts Alive program by about 3 years. From the Wesson Women's Building, we then moved on to the Centennial Building. And of course, that was a fabulous project that we worked on for about 2 years. And again, used regional artists and had many wonderful commissioned pieces done. Susan Voss did a beautiful commissioned piece with Mark Brown, her husband. And we did the tub room in the pediatrics floor, which is a boat built around a bathtub to help children get over their fears of taking baths and to make it being more fun to be in the hospital.
Uh-oh. I hope no kids are out there thinking their parents are going to start building boats in the bathroom.
Right.
The Arts Alive program was introduced here, and that was a little bit different from the collection in that did it start a rotating exhibition program, and was that really the intent when it first started?
Let's see. In 1989, a number of administrators went out to the University of Iowa to visit an art program they had there that had been going about 10 years. And they had extensive galleries with rotating exhibitions as well as a permanent collection. And when the administrators came back, they spoke to me about putting together an exhibition in the Centennial 3 connector for the holidays. And we decided that the first exhibition would have pieces from the permanent collection. So we went around and selected some of our favorites, and in their place left pieces of paper that said removed for exhibit, and started with that exhibition as a trial run. The results were just so overwhelmingly positive, with patients and staff stopping and artists coming in to see the program, that we then moved on to develop other rotating exhibits. And it started slowly with exhibits lasting about 3 months. The second exhibit was a collection we curated of regional artists. We really wanted it to be a place that that brought the arts in to make the hospital a vibrant place filled with creativity and to make it warm and caring and to reflect the community.
Talking about the gallery, there was an enormous amount of work that went into preparation for taking the exhibit out and then preparing for another exhibit. Let's talk a little bit about that and how that led to this wonderful wall hanging system that was very unique and probably one of a kind here in the country.
Well, of course, the pieces are up with security mounts, and they were going into the sheetrock. And so, considering the fact we got up to 50 exhibits a year in the Centennial Building, the walls began to crumble from all of the holes and screws that were going into
Patch and paint.
and then the patching and the painting. And so we worked with the facilities department and with engineering and came up with a system where there, in fact, actually, I think, can you see it here, where there are grooves in the wall so that will take the security system. And it is a unique, one-of-a-kind system that protects the walls, and the hanging goes up much quicker now. Wouldn't you say it cuts it down by about a third or a half?
It would have to.
Yeah.
It definitely would. And I know it was, well, it took about a year to develop the
That's
system,
true.
did it not?
Yeah.
And it was certainly a collaborative effort of ideas with the engineering department and with Wilkins Art Consulting, and actually even with the guys who hung the exhibits.
Exactly.
I mean, their input was very valuable because they were actually, they had the hands-on experience and knew the amount of work that it took. Along with the Arts Alive program, there are several, well, not several, there are like 3 other programs that are focused on the arts and artists in the community. And one of them is the Gifts of Art program. Tell us a little bit about how that began.
All right.
And
Bay State really was doing a lot for the arts community. Artists loved having their exhibits here, the track lighting, the receptions, and the number of people that would see these shows made it really a very desirable thing for an artist to have a show here. And so when we began to do the Western Women and Infants building, we decided to approach the artistic community that had participated here with a Gifts of Art program, where we talked to them about the many ways that individuals give to their communities, and that we asked if they would like to participate by giving a partial donation, which would enable us to acquire more valuable pieces of art than we could otherwise purchase. And we started with all of the artists who had participated in the shows, which now numbered really several hundred. And the response was just fantastic. Many of the artists gave 20, 25 pieces. And the process was juried. So it wasn't as, do you remember?
Yep,
we
I
would
remember
bring
that very
in
well.
really van loads of artwork for the committee to look at, as well as reviewing slides, and we selected the pieces that best fit the permanent collection, because there's really a lot of criteria that went into the collection of pieces that convey hope, creativity, a joy of life, beauty, serenity, humor. It's a collection that I think is not like a staid type of thing where you walk by one piece and you walk by another and you feel like you've seen the same thing. And the way that they've been hung and placed also reflects a lot of diversity, a lot of appreciation for cultural enrichment to reflect the cultures of this community.
right. I think anybody who's ever been in that building would agree that it's really quite beautiful, and it was an extraordinary program that enabled Bay State to have original pieces of artwork and fine art in all of the public areas, reception areas, and in the patient and exam rooms. So it was really quite a program.
Really remarkable. Many institutions will have the original pieces in the corridors,
Right.
but to have them in the patient rooms and to have them in the birthing rooms, I know I've heard people say, oh, that's Heidi Kotu's watercolor or mixed media
Exactly.
where I had my baby. I know Heidi. So it really just gave this wonderful feeling of community and people caring about each other and
Yeah.
for each other. It was a thrill.
Just one more thought was the NICU that was up there, some of the little quilts that were done, because we had to be sure that we adhered to some of the rules and regs in terms of artwork and things being behind in fabric. But some of those little quilts
those are
really
so darling.
so
It
adorable.
was Kathy Pickett, wasn't it?
Yes, it
who
was.
did
It
those?
was
Yeah.
Kathy Pickett. Yep. So we have two other programs that are here, and one of them is a donor recognition program, which I think is very unique, and I want you to talk a little bit about that because it goes above and beyond the normal plaque.
Exactly. Susan Dugan, the Director of Development, and Tom Johnson took an interest in the art program. And Susan said to me one day, would it be possible to recognize donors using art forms? And I said, well, we haven't done it before, but we always like a challenge, so
Why not?
let's see what we can come up with. And we came up with that fabulous wall of tile by Judith Inglese of Amherst, where the names of all the donors to the Wesson Women's Building, and these were the employees that gave, are in each letter is individually stamped into her terracotta tile. And then she has done her beautiful work with painted and glazed and sculpted tile. And the piece is, I think, over 10 feet long. And I know I heard people say when they saw it go up, if I had known that's where how my name would be displayed, I would have given. So that began the trend of using artwork to recognize donors. And from there, it's gone to that, I think, fabulous glass sculpture piece by Joe Ferguson, which is just a magnificent multi-paneled glass sculpture for the Bequest Society.
Right. It's so beautiful because it's called, the River of Life?
River of Life.
And he has fashioned it in such a manner that it actually does flow.
That's true.
And does very much look like a river.
It's a stunning piece, and I think it calms people's nerves when they come in the building. It's one of the first things that they see. Children, especially, I think, like it because of the iridescence of the dichroic glass.
And I think, wasn't it one of the main reasons in deciding to go with the glass was that glass really had a historic impact on the medical field itself.
Exactly.
So it had historic measure to it other than just the healing and the aesthetic measure to it.
That's right.
It's amazing how Bay State has really committed themselves to incorporating art in a variety of ways. The last program that we're going to talk about is the one that is in memoriam. And I know that it's very difficult for people at certain times when they're trying to do something in remembrance of somebody, whether it was an employee or a family member, that the institution wants to recognize them in some way. So tell us a little bit how Bay State has once again thrust themselves in the forefront in this arena.
All right. This program actually started as the result of a child who was an oncology patient here, and she saw Judith Inglese's mural, and she said, "Mom, I want to make a tile. Can I make a tile?" And her mother, who was a nurse here, Joanne Costello, said, "Well, let me find out." And Joanne was directed to Susan Dugan and to me, and we talked with her about having children make tiles. So we got into the memorial aspect of this through several ways. One was by having a child saying, "I want to make a tile," and we came up with a program called Hands and Hearts Family Tiles, where children in pediatrics could make tiles that would go around a border, or would be a border of a mural done up in pediatrics. And then from that came the concept of having parents and family members make tiles for children who had been patients but who had passed on. And we had workshops here with Judith and with family members. I know at one time, I think we had 20 families making tiles, either in celebration of a child who had recovered or in memory of a child's life. And the result of these tiles is just so meaningful to the staff and to the families and the children. And Judith said, too, it's been a life-transforming event for her to be working with the children and the families. And so we are continuing now. In fact, Karen Rossi just did a metal sculpture in recognition of a staff member who had passed on. And that's going to be hung in the Chestnut Building, celebrating her life and her joy of cats and mountains and hiking. So I think the process of working hands-on with artists, if not making it yourself, working with an artist to have something commissioned to commemorate someone's life has been a really exciting experience for a lot of us here.
I'm sure. It's also nice to know that these are being done basically more in terms of celebration rather than in a sad memory of somebody, celebrating the essence of that person and their impact on not only the world but on the individuals that touch their lives every day.
That's right.
So,
No, it's been a beautiful experience.
So I think that we'll have to agree with all the work that we've done together here that Bay State has definitely made a commitment to the art community, continues to follow through. And I know the Arts Alive program, thanks to Jim Rosenthal, who volunteered to take it on, continues and thrives.
Yeah,
And,
I'm just thrilled that Jim took on the Arts Alive program, and I've seen many of the exhibits that he's curated, and I'm just so pleased to see the vibrancy and excitement on the walls continue.
Continuing with Bay State's commitment for outreach programs in the community, the two new buildings that went up, one of them was, we developed a program that involved the Lincoln Magnet School.
That was great.
That was really good. And we had actually, and it was interesting in that the Lincoln Magnet School was really the only school in the city that had opted to not have an art teacher. They wanted to focus on getting more high-tech equipment and computers. So we just approached them because they have a standing relationship with Bay State, and we had a local potter go in and create tiles for the kids.
Shelley Thomas spent, what, 3 or 4 sessions there?
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
I think it was more like 5 or
Was
6.
it? Okay, all right.
Yeah,
And, so it was an opportunity for these kids in grades.
It actually covered K through 5.
All right.
It was K through 5, and there were students from each class, so that every class was represented.
Now, there was a reception for the kids and their parents, right? In
Yep,
the
remember
3300
that?
Main Street building, so the children could come and see their completed tiles. And the tiles were hung at an eye level that would be appropriate for the children in exam rooms.
Toddlers.
Where children would also be going. So that I felt it offered some interest, and it was very child-friendly.
Right. So it must make you feel wonderful in that when you say you're an art consultant, people will probably look at you and think of you as an art consultant, but basically you're really an ambassador in every sense of the word to the art community, from the artists to the client to the community itself, and in actually embracing and bringing in the involvement of everybody.
Well, that's true.
So thank you so much for coming here today, Pam.
Oh, thanks, Carla. It was really a joy to share the history of the development of this exciting program, and we wish it well.
We certainly do. We're here with Joyce Topshe, who's the Director of Facilities Planning and Management at Bay State Medical Center. Thank you for coming, Joyce. She has a very busy schedule, and it's been very nice for you to allow us to interview you for a couple of minutes.
Thank you.
You, as one of the people who's right in on the ground level of a project, tell us a little bit about how you go about constructing the development of a project and how you incorporate artwork.
Okay. We see artwork as a very important part of the patient care environment. From not only the aesthetic qualities that it provides in the decor, but also to aid in the healing process. So very, very early on in the design process, we meet with the art consultant and assemble our team so we can start to focus on the placement of art and how it relates to the lighting and the circulation patterns within the building. And we also tailor the artwork to the patient care population that we're serving so that the artwork is specific to the folks that we're caring for in that environment.
You have the chance to actually see and witness people's reaction to your commitment to art and the Arts Alive program and the collection. Tell me some of the experiences that you may have had with this.
Well, the feedback that we get is wonderful. We have a good 5,000 people or so travel through our corridors in a course of a week. And our patients, they come out of their patient rooms often to view the artwork while they're here. The family members, while they're passing time, while they have someone here in the hospital, will often take a walk out through the corridor. And the employees as well get excited about the change in the artwork. Every month or two, there's an entirely new gallery of art, and people get excited about that when they see the change. It just adds to the excitement of the institution and really decorates the corridors as well.
Yeah, it does. I'm going to ask you a personal question. Is there any favorite one of yours that you've been through that you might want to recall?
I love them all. I call Jim sometimes and tell him how excited I am about the latest gallery. And my staff do the same thing. They'll say, did you go take a look in the MRI corridor? Go check out the photographs or the artwork. So it's exciting. For the employees, our corridors, we have over 1 million square feet of facilities here, and our corridors are very long, and sometimes that could be boring if you're traversing these corridors on, and it's wonderful to stop and take a look at the artwork, and you'll see people do that all day long.
Well, Joyce, I want to thank you very much for taking a few moments out of your very busy and hectic schedule and sitting here with us in the Arts Alive Gallery and giving us a little bit of a view from your perspective.
You're very welcome. It was my pleasure.
Thanks, Joyce. We're here today at the Children's Hospital at Bay State Medical Center on the play deck, and we have Jackie Bell here, who's the Child Life Coordinator, and she's going to tell us about this art project that's happening here.
We're really fortunate to have Joanne come back to us again this year. She helped us do a mural on our outside play deck last year, and this year, because we have some seed money that came to us from the Arts Alive display that's been down on the corridor in Service 3, we're able to have her come back and help us do a project that will be in the endoscopy suite. We have a new area there that will serve children primarily when they're coming in for different procedures. And today she's working on some ceiling tiles, but she's also going to do a mural for us and a couple of borders and a couple of the treatment rooms and the recovery rooms. And it's really a lot of fun for kids. They had a super time last year, and she's given them a basic outline of what they're doing, and then they really can go to town and have a great time with it.
I don't know, it looks like Joanne's having some fun over there too. It's going to be hard to gauge who's having the most fun, Joanne or the kids.
It is super. So we were able to use some of the dollars that came from Arts Alive and then some telethon dollars and match those dollars so that we could make it a much more family-friendly place. It's a short stay area where the children are coming in. They can be there from a couple of hours to maybe 5 or 6 hours, but I think it'll be a lot more welcoming with the artwork that the children have done.
Great. Let's go and see how much fun Joanne is having and see the kids at work.
Great.
Thank you.
You bet. Joanne, it's really incredible what we start with and what we end with. And I think we see kids have a great time with it, and the product is certainly wonderful. What do you see the kids getting from this?
I see them getting great fun out of it. It's a great diversion for them to work and forget about being in the hospital for a little while. They're smiles on their faces or something that I get out of it, and the sparkle in their eye when they're working something to perfection. We're really having a good time with it, and just the escape. I kind of call myself an escape artist, you know,
Yep.
because I help them escape this. I know, because I've been there. I was in the hospital, too, for an extended period of time, and I wish someone was around to do something like this when I was there.
I think
So-
it's great that they create something that will stay forever in the hospital.
Yes.
And you've been so good at making sure that all the kids who contribute get their names around the edge.
Yes.
So,
They deserve to have their names on the work.
Yep.
You know, they do such a great job, and they take more pride in that when they come back to see their name.
That's true.
They see the stroke that they brushed onto the artwork, the suggestions that they made for the art, because I allow them to do that as well.
Sure.
So they do
It's a
wonderful-
win-win project.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It is. For all of us.
Carl, this has been a busy day. Bay State has so many different levels of commitment to the arts. It's been an eye-opener for me.
Well, they certainly do have their hands in a lot of areas in terms of the art program, and I think it was a very important program in that it actually allowed people to witness Bay State's commitment not only to medical technology and healing, but also to the aesthetic healing through the arts.
The time we spent with Joanne working with the children is a good example of that, and I'm glad, as the director of the Arts Alive program, to have been able to help continue that program this year.
I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. And I also think that it was fun to be with Pam Wilkins-Horowitz and to meet Joyce Topshin.
It was a great day.
It was a wonderful day.
So thank you all for tuning in for Eye on Art. We look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
Thank you.